Good evening. It's Freddie Vasquez with Basement Politics Unfiltered. Happy Friday. Tonight, part 3 of my interview with Anthony DiMaggio. Join me. Good evening. It's Freddie Vasquez, Basement Politics Unfiltered. Today is Friday, September 9th, 2022. Part 3 of my interview with the most requested guest I've had, former Yonkers Police Lieutenant Anthony DiMaggio, 15-year veteran of the Yonkers Police Department. He will be joining me. Good evening, folks. Good evening. Good evening, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight is part 3 of my interview with Anthony DiMaggio, former Yonkers Police Lieutenant, who was wrongfully terminated, according to Anthony DiMaggio, and now he's speaking out about it. Before I bring him in, I really want to say, I really want to actually mention really quick, and I posted this on the page. I missed the meeting this past Tuesday, the city council meeting, but I watched some of it today, and Shanae Williams was like super, I don't want to say scared, I'm going to say hesitant to ask Wilson Kimball, who is now being considered for chair of the zoning board, what'd I say, right? And she was hesitant to ask whether or not the downtown area was being overdeveloped with luxury apartments. She was like, I was like, wow. But Wilson Kimball's a scary woman, and I will be talking about that on Sunday night. So join me for that. Anyway, folks, help me welcome Anthony DiMaggio. Thank you. I appreciate that, Danny. Thank you very much. And I appreciate you. I appreciate everyone who watches and supports Basement Politics. And the number of followers has been like increasing like crazy, man. And Anthony DiMaggio, thank you for joining me. I don't know if it's because of you being on the show lately, but I've been getting a lot of, what should I, it's the word I'm using, attraction, a lot of a lot of talk. And, about you. People are asking me, when is he going to be back on? I like that guy. It's a good interview. That was a great show that you did with him. So tell me, have you been hearing the same? I know you told me some people have been saying good stuff, but have you been hearing any more of it?
Oh, I've been hearing a lot of things. I've been hearing none of it really too surprising. I had really anticipated a lot of it. From what I understand, the cops are loving it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I still got a lot of friends in the YPD, and there's always a lot of retaliation and things like that. Usually, it takes the form of, let's transfer him out of the unit that he likes and put him over here where he doesn't like to work, and silly things like that. It's no one ever really got the business like I got it.
Right, and we'll get into that. We're definitely going to talk about that, because I said we're going to go in deep, delve a little bit more into what actually happened, and what they then tried to do to you in retaliation. But I want to just give a quick, back, just in case anyone's watching for the first time. Anthony DiMaggio was a Yonkers police lieutenant. You were on the police force for 15 years. From documents you've recently sent me, from what people have told me, you were a good guy. You were a great officer. You were one of the good ones, quote unquote. That's actually what someone said. And so it's a shame. Many people said it's sad, that happened to you. So you're getting a lot of support. However, very recently also now, I guess because of all the talk that the past two interviews have gotten, it's getting around. I've also heard some, not so nice things, and people saying otherwise, right? And listen, we have to ask. I'm going to definitely ask about that, but I want to do a little recap real quick. So Anthony DiMaggio, again, 15-year veteran of the Yonkers Police Department, was fired over an incident you had with another officer. someone you actually outranked. You are a lieutenant, and that person was a detective sergeant. I played an audio that you had sent me on the first interview, the first episode. I have brought it up. I think we should play it again to let people hear, and at some point we'll do that. But you had an issue with another officer. That officer was very tight with those that were at the top of the food chain in terms of the Yonkers Police Department, and they made it difficult for you. They wanted you to go through some psychological evaluations, right? But were hesitant to do so, but you did, and then you got this report, 7-page report. You said written up about you, right? But and then it said you were all kinds of crazy, right? All kinds of nuts, and eventually they put you on desk duty and they took your gun away, right? And then ultimately, because you wouldn't sign a document, which in the document it stated that you would not sue the Yonkers Police Department, you would then terminate it. Did I kind of sum it up?
That's not a bad job.
Okay, good. Well, if I left anything out, just let me know, man. You can mention it. But if not, I did the recap. I want to, because again, people have reached out to me also. A lot of people say more people said good things than bad things. So I will say that. But I was told about certain incidents and why they fired you, why had to be done. It was a legitimate reason. But one of the things I want to touch on, because we didn't really touch on it actually and get too much into the details, was what happened to spark this incident between you and the detective sergeant. You guys were at a crime scene. What happened there? Because I was told that you never mentioned that, right? It's like almost like as you left it out on purpose because you wanted to hide something.
Far from it.
What happened at the crime scene?
No, I mean, the reason I left it out was because it's really inconsequential as far as just the way the city did everything and all of the things that I can prove John Mueller did in the events that followed. I mean, that's the real crux of the matter here. It's like a big part of the reason I'm doing this is because not only did they know what he did with Ray Montero, and then they made him the police commissioner in Yonkers. After that, they knew what he did with me. That flash drive that I have, Paul Sweeney, the private attorney that they brought in to handle the situation, he has a copy of it. I can get into why he has a copy of it. It's not really relevant as to what I'm talking about right now, but he has a copy of it, so they know what's on it. So they know what he did with me, and yet they made him the chief of yet another police department. So they just put 1,100 cops over at the MTA police department in this guy's crosshairs. They're sitting ducks, and they have no idea. So that's a big part of why I'm doing everything that I'm doing. So whatever happened at the crime scene on December 30th, 2019, it's not really relevant to the purposes that I'm here. You know what I mean?
Right. So, and I know you mentioned something when we first spoke, that what happened there was actually something that kind of happens often between officers, and I would imagine, in certain, jobs and stuff, you might, get into it with other coworkers and stuff like that. And you kind of keep that stuff in-house. But because of the individual specifically who you got into it with, it kind of took off, and kind of blew up a little bit more. And because of who he was, kind of tight with, this is how your story ended up, right? And so I get it, and what you're saying is basically it's more important really what happened to me and how they terminated me more so than what actually happened at the crime scene to get into that incident. But they did also mention, and people, like I said, these things are going to come out, right? So, and I said to you, hey, Anthony, it's good to just get it out there because I believe in getting ahead of it. Right. That way, if you have nothing to hide, then you get ahead of it. And something was mentioned about a state trooper and you and a gun at a bar, something like to that effect. I didn't get too much of the details, but
yeah. So actually, you know what? In anticipation of this, I actually pulled up the write-up from when I was issued a notice of discipline over this nonsense. This is when Mueller basically first took over as the commissioner. This was very political. The troopers were a little butthurt about an argument that I had with them in a parking lot. And that's really, I mean, it's kind of an anticlimactic story. That's basically all that happened is I had an argument with some troopers. In a nutshell. I had my gun on me in a venue up in Dutchess County. And there was a criminal element in there, and not the kind, that likes to remain low-key, the kind that wears their colors and their patches proudly. I'm not going to say which organization. A lot of people who are watching this already right now know who I'm talking about.
I ain't going to mention them either.
The kind that rides on two wheels.
Yeah, I
motorcycles.
got it. Yeah, I
All right,
think we
you
got
got it. Right. So they decided that they were gonna boss around an off-duty cop. I called for backup. In my opinion, the troopers that showed up didn't really do the right thing. I don't know why. So there was a little bit of an argument that ensued. They made a complaint down to internal affairs. Um, in my department, uh, I love the troopers. The ones that were there that night. I guess they were a little thin-skinned, but it was kind of political. What I had heard was that, and this was from Mike Koch, who was the CLSA president at the time. Basically, he told me that the troopers were threatening to start targeting Yonkers cops on the parkways for summonses and things like that. If I wasn't disciplined for basically,
Mm,
having a dispute with them while they were in uniform.
mm.
Um,
So they
it's
figured
kind of
we got to do
uneventful.
something.
Basically, what happened was uh, these bikers told the bouncer they want that guy with the gun to leave. I had a firearm under my shirt on my hip, and I said, "Look, I'm a cop. I carry my gun all the time." The guy knew I was a cop. The bouncer, it had not been an issue before. So when I saw what was going on, I saw that this element had just walked in and was now standing over at the other end of the bar. I said, "Oh, is that what happened? They don't want a cop in their bar." So I went over and I talked to the head guy, old guy, goatee. I said, "Listen, buddy, I'm a cop. I mean, that should be pretty obvious. I'm gonna go wherever I want with my gun." And he said, "Oh yeah, well that's gonna be a problem."
Mm,
I said, "Really? Okay." So I disassembled my gun and I put it in the car. You never leave your gun in a car, off duty, anything. You never leave an assembled firearm in the car because if somebody steals it, they now have an operable weapon. So
right.
what I always like to do is a Glock comes apart into 4 pieces, 4 or 5 pieces. I disassemble it and I take a couple of the pieces with me. I leave a couple of the pieces in the car. So that if somebody breaks into the car and steals a couple of pieces of the gun, all they have is a couple pieces of a gun. They
Right.
can't get some ammunition and shoot
And
from
they
it and
can't
things
use
like
it.
that.
Right.
Right. They can't use it.
Right.
So that's really all that happened as far as a gun. If there was, if that's all you heard, I don't know what you heard.
So basically, it was just an incident you had at the bar. Because look, these things
Yeah.
kind of happen, and we've heard them happen before. Officers are humans, right? And things
Right.
happen or whatever, just like everybody else, right? And I guess officers are expected to I guess be at a higher standard, whatever. Sometimes, but at the end of the day, we're all human regardless. And so I get that. But that was mentioned. I wanted to bring it up because I want to be fair. You're right. I want to definitely. And I guess you had to be disciplined so the Yonkers police wouldn't get tickets on the Taconic.
That's what
While
Mike
they're
Koch
going
told
home.
me. He said, he said the commissioner really likes you. He knows that stuff like this happens sometimes,
Yeah.
but he's got to do something, bro.
Yeah, and
He
like
said,
the argument you said that you got into, that stuff happens. So I mean, I've seen
right.
videos of cops, from different units kind of get into it. And even one time I saw a video of a New Jersey state trooper getting into it with some of the local cops from that area. They were doing some kind of drug bust or whatever, and they got into it. And they said, "I'm going to call your commanding officer." So I get things like
Right.
that happen and stuff. So I guess we don't
Yeah.
want to hold you to for things like that. But the more serious matter, were domestic issues, right? There was. I was also told about, that you had some domestic issues, and that was also one of the reasons, and they had to, give you a psych evaluation and stuff. You just weren't cooperative. You're not stable, right? And I've had that accusation also, but that's what was said. And so, I want to ask you about the domestic issues of domestic violence, as it was told to me.
No, well, there's no domestic violence, none at all whatsoever. There are domestic issues for sure. My daughter's mother and I fight like the Dickens on a daily basis. Um, there's probably a few hundred cops watching this right now, laughing their asses off because they know who she is, and the idea that I harass her is just completely outrageous. That's just our cadence. She's a fiery personality.
So you're saying they're using that against you? I guess that dynamic in your guys' relationship was used against you.
Oh yeah, Mueller knows what he's doing. He's a setup artist. He's been one for a long time. He's a crooked
Right.
cop. I guarantee you, there are people rotting in a federal prison somewhere right now because he cooked up some shit against him.
Really?
I can't prove that, but just the law of averages. If he's doing it to people under him, people who are part of the same department as he is, then I mean,
Right.
but why is it unreasonable to think that he probably did this to people out in the street as a cop coming up?
Yeah,
I
I
would,
gotta.
if I had to bet, I'd bet every dollar I had. I can't prove it, obviously, but What's
I
the
got a
medallion do?
message from, yeah, I'm
Yeah, go
sorry.
ahead.
I got a message from someone in regards to, what you're talking about, in certain bad cops and stuff like that. And, and they wanted to actually come out and ask some questions. And I said, yeah, you're more than welcome to to ask questions. But, John Mueller, for people may not know, was the former police commissioner. He, I don't know if he resigned, I guess, retired, and then went to MTA where he's at now. He was a police commissioner for 3 years. Before that, Charles Gardner or Chucky Gardner was a police commissioner. And so, Mueller was a part of a unit and a group of guys that I guess were affectionately labeled the Olsenettes. Right? And they were supposed to be like a tough group of guys, that went out in the street and kind of, did some shit on the street. Right. So I would imagine that,
Yeah. Again, by the time I had become a police officer in 2007, those days were over. Most of the Olsenettes had moved on to more prominent things within the department. So I can't really comment about too much of that. I don't know. I don't
right.
have any stories to add. I can't
Well, I
confirm or
told the
deny
people, I said,
anything.
if you guys got stories, share them. I
I'm not
like
going
to
to make
definitely
things
hear
up.
them. If you've had incidents, because I support the police 1000%. What 1000% I do. I know, I can't imagine what they go through because I've never been a cop. But I know that it's a tough job, and they have a lot that they deal with. So I don't ever want to find myself really judging because I don't know. But I definitely support YPD. Get the contract, get the contract. I was yelling that at some cops, give them a contract. And they were kind of laughing and smiling and stuff like that. So I support them. They've always, kind of treated me for the most part good. But, people have had some issues or whatever. And I tell those people, if you have, I'll speak on it. You want to come on the show, want to talk about it. They're ready to name names. I say, hey, I'm all with it. That's what the podcast is about. And that's why I have you on here. You brought the report that or the evaluation, let's say, the
Yeah, I have it here.
psychological. Let's go over that. Right? That was a lot of the basis for why you were terminated.
Yeah, but I just, there are a lot of people within the department who I'm sure are watching right now, and they have a pretty good grasp on what's going on because I've told a lot of them personally. And, uh, there was, in my absence, there was a lot of rumors going around because that's part of what John Mueller does. In your absence, he'll go to people and he'll say, "Oh, Anthony DiMaggio did this. Anthony DiMaggio did that." I bumped into a guy who had like 25 years on the job at a birthday party, and he saw me and he goes, "Oh my God, I'm glad to see you. All right, I'm chilling. I'm drinking a Corona or whatever. I'm, having a good time." He's like, "I'm glad to see you. All right." I said, "What are you talking about?" "Oh, I heard all kinds of things. I heard you did this. I heard you on suicide watch. They had to take your guns." I said, "Bro, how many years you got out of this job? You know what I'm saying? Like, so you're over 20-year guy, right?" "Oh yeah, of course." I said, "You should know better. Come on, you know this place."
Right.
You know what I mean? This is, so when I sent that voicemail out to a lot of people after I got terminated, 2 years worth of rumors evaporated like this. Oh, that's what's going on.
Right.
He got into a little beef with Goomba, who told him, "You want to play this game, you're going to lose it." And
Well,
then he got mullered.
speaking of Goomba, as you like to refer to him, you want me to play that audio real quick? Let
Please
people
do, and
hear
then
it,
I'll give
and
the
go into
audience a
the.
little bit of a breakdown of everything that he says in it. The first thing that he says is very important. He says, um, "Hey, listen, I know you're a lieutenant." That's very important, and I'll explain why after. Then he goes into, "Do you want to play? You want to play this game? You're going to lose it." That's the most important thing he
Oh,
says in the voicemail. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no,
It
go ahead. I'm
started
done.
playing.
Go ahead.
Okay.
First saved voice message. Sent yesterday, Monday, December 30th at 10:11 p.m. Duration 35 seconds. Hey, listen, I know you're a lieutenant, but you have a problem with the detectives, you call detective sergeant. If you have a problem with that, you call detective lieutenant. I don't know who the fuck you think you are, but you want to play this game, you're going to lose it. I'll tell you right now. I don't know who the fuck you think you are. Save this message and play to whoever you want. Okay? There's a chain of command. If you have an issue with a sergeant, you call my lieutenant. If you have an issue with a detective, you call the sergeant. Don't answer my phone call. I don't give a fuck about you. Wake up.
Well, I can see why they terminated you. I mean, he said it very clearly. He doesn't give a f about you. That was very rough, voicemail. I was very surprised that he would do that, and I know you said that he didn't think that you would be able to get it out of and put it onto a flash drive, but even still having it on your phone, just even if you couldn't do that, and you had to do, all you could do is let people hear it from your phone. I don't. That's crazy that someone would do that, right? I mean, in his position.
Not in Yonkers, man. I mean, look, he was right. Everything he said was right. I lost. He didn't even get a slap on the wrist for that. He retired with a pension that's probably up around $160,000. Everything he said happened. I mean, listen, when a guy says to you, when a guy who's good friends with the squirrely police commissioner with a long history of work retaliation, the guy says to you, "Do you want to play this game? You're going to lose it. I'll tell you right now." What does that mean? Does that mean that my buddy, the police commissioner, is going to send you to a doctor for a psychological evaluation, and you might pass and come back to work?
Right.
No, it means you're done, bro. You're done. These guys work
Wow.
for us. They take orders. And this is the easiest thing I'll ever do in my life. I'm going to Johnny Boy. You're going to a doctor. And see you later. Doesn't matter what I did or what people said I did or this and that. I sent you a couple of documents today that showed you how much John Muller loved me before I got into a little beef with his girlfriend, right?
Yeah, I mean, he did say in the documents, Anthony DiMaggio did forward me some documents. In there, Mueller says he's an outstanding officer. He's intelligent, methodical, and one that requires very minimal over supervision, right? So he had full confidence in you. He was, supporting and recommending you for the unit transfer that you wanted. You wanted to go into the housing unit, and by by reading that letter, I mean, sounds like he thought nothing but wonderful things about you, and you're great, officer, outstanding.
But right? I violated an unwritten rule in Spano Yonkers. Okay, this guy, what he says is, hey, listen, I know you're a lieutenant. Okay, so the first thing he's doing is acknowledging that I outrank him and that he shouldn't even be leaving me this voicemail. Then twice after that, he says, "I don't know who the F you think you are." Well, if you know I'm a lieutenant, what else do you need to know?
Right.
What other rank system are you alluding to? And what he's saying is,
good
play
point.
This voicemail for whoever you want. I'm a made guy in the Spano crime family. You can't do nothing with me, bro. What are you, out of your mind? When I call you and I want to yell at you, you answer the phone. Because if you don't, you're breaking a rule of this little thing of ours, and you got to go down. That's what he's saying. Plain English. I mean, he didn't say it like I just said it, but he said it in code.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I guess now that you say it that way, I hear it now. I hear it. Yeah, that's crazy. I wanted to.
Freddie, let me just say, I heard someone after I forwarded that email, that voicemail to IAD in an email. A friend of mine told me that this idiot was spotted. My friend didn't hear what he was saying, but he spotted him on the phone in the parking lot of 104 South Broadway, pacing back and forth on the phone, frantically screaming. Mueller must have called him and said, "Hey, idiot, since when do we warn people that we're going to hit them before we hit them? This thing of ours is supposed to be secret." You see what I'm saying?
Right, and that's why I'm saying I was surprised that he left that message. I mean, you want to do things that move in silence, right? You want to do it that way, but he was, and that's emotion. Obviously, he was very angry, and I mean, he like you said, is it
guaranteed dollars to donuts?
Yeah, and there must be a different rank, system that you're, like you said, because he basically said that. He said, "Who the F you think you are?" His emotions got the better of him because you didn't pick up the phone. That's what angered him so much, right? That you didn't pick up the phone and he can scream at you.
I disrespected his status as a made guy.
Right.
Yes, and John Muller's
and you deserve to get whacked
for the Spano crime family. Exactly. You get my analogies, bro?
Yeah, they get some cement shoes for you. It's supposed to be secret, yeah. And so that's I guess that's a great look into the world of, maybe how things operate. And that's probably why so many police officers, stay quiet. And this is a bigger problem, really, if you look at it on a wider scale in just all police departments throughout the country. If this is, what's going on, then of course there is, people often, good cops get blamed for what bad cops do, right? But if a few bad cops have this much power to do what they did to you, a good cop, why would other good cops come out and say anything?
Right. And that's why I'm getting so much love for what I'm doing. Right. Nobody gives nobody cares. People, they're going to come out and say, "Oh, he did this and he did that." the majority of what they accuse me of is nonsense. Maybe lithium, not alcohol. It's Goomba who drinks the alcohol.
So Muller doesn't drink.
He might drink lithium. That's one of the rumors that was floating around.
with lithium.
Yeah, that's a psychotropic drug. It's a
Not in batteries.
He's got issues. Let's just leave it at that. I can't confirm that. I never saw him. That's a rumor. A lot of people believe it. It was a little joke I was kind of working in there.
Great interviews, repping the good fight. Thank you. We appreciate that.
My
you, man.
Friend there.
People want to see you, man. You know, no one else has been requested. You are the first and only so far in Basement Politics to be requested. But let's get into the report. I want to hear what the psychologist or psychiatrist said about you in this 7-page report, where you said he basically made you look like you needed to be in a padded room.
Yeah.
So what did he say?
All right. So I'm gonna go over just a few of the things that that really crystallized just how fraudulent this whole process really was, right? One of my
really quick before you start, I just want to talk about how with the psychiatrists, right, and what they do and how they use these corrupt psychiatrists in order to do this, right? In order to go ahead and railroad you by providing the report that they would need to get you terminated, right? And so that's also what you also wanted to talk about. So I just wanted to mention that before you read. Go ahead.
Yeah, so just a recap of that briefly, I'll take a minute. When they see a lawsuit coming, because by the time, this is something I had thought to mention, okay? This is very, very important, because you're going to hear a lot of high-end stuff about me, about all the things that I did, about all the reasons why they had all these concerns about why I had psychological problems. John Muller left me on the street until the morning that I went to internal affairs. And I have snapshots of the computerized roll call system showing me working on each of those days. He goes to one of the chiefs, my particular chief at the time, who I was under, I fell in his chain of command, and he goes, "We need help setting up Anthony DiMaggio. I think we're going to go the route he has psychological problems. He disrespected Goomba, all this." Now, they go to this chief and say all this stuff, knowing that this chief can't stand them. Actually, this particular chief was a guy who was actively thwarting a lot of their retaliation missions over the years as they were trying to set people up. Yet they go to him anyway and they say, "Help us."
Is this particular chief still working? Is he?
I don't want to give any clues.
I gotcha.
I don't want to. I haven't spoken to him about this.
I'm
sure he probably wouldn't mind if I said his name. I'll talk to him about it, and if he gives me the green light, then I'll tell you who it was on the next podcast.
Sounds good.
This was January 10th. I'm meeting with him in his office. We're going to talk about the incident that started this all. There was some email chains between me and him, and let's talk about how we could fix things like this going forward. I sit down with him in his office. He says, "Anthony," before we even start talking about that, he's sitting at a table, not at his desk. There's a table in his office. He had a big office. He's sitting at a table. He's like, "Come here, sit down." I sit down. He goes, "You got a problem, kid?" I said, "Yeah, no shit, chief. They're plotting on you." Starts telling me about it. Yeah, okay. I know that already. I figured that. I mean, I know what the guy means when he says you want to play this game. You're going to lose it. I know what he means. Okay, no problem. I get called down to internal affairs in late January 23rd, 24th. I get an email saying I got to go down there. This was after there's already a whole chain of emails showing how internal affairs is covering up for Goomba. And I'll email you that before the next podcast. That'll blow your mind. I get called down to internal affairs on January 3rd or 24th, and they tell me I got to go down on the 28th. I was scheduled to work the 25th, 26th, 27th, and 28th. Okay? And when you work the 28th, you go in on the night of the 27th and you finish in the morning of the 28th. He was concerned in early January, allegedly, that I had all these psychological problems and left me on the street.
Right.
Until the morning I went to internal affairs. You know what a police commissioner does when he legitimately has concerns about a cop's psychological stability and wants to send him for an evaluation? Takes him off the street immediately, takes his guns, puts him on a desk, and tells him where he's got to be for his evaluation. This idiot leaves me on the street the whole time. Only when I show up to internal affairs with an attorney, now he realizes he's got to get me off the payroll immediately because that scares away the attorney. How he does that is something that we'll go into at another time because that's very diabolical. But that's where the doctor comes in. When they see a lawsuit coming, They have to get you off of the payroll, and they have a flow chart that they then follow, entirely geared towards lawsuit prevention. Get him off the payroll, try to leverage
Really?
him into sign. Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's about. And what the doctor does by selling them the report, basically what he does is he sells them the diagnosis at the end of the report or the recommendation, which says return to work is not recommended in plain English. That's what they're buying. How he gets there,
Right.
the narrative, they don't really
Yeah,
care.
it don't
They
matter.
give him a few things to use against you, you know.
Right.
But after they have you off the payroll using Article 72, Section 5, and anybody could go look up this law on the internet. Article 72, Section 5 of the New York State Civil Service Law. It's very general, very broad, kind of poorly written, if you ask me. The legislators who wrote it have good intentions because they're basically saying you can't have nutty cops out there. So you got to give a police commissioner or the head of any other civil service department the power that he needs, like to take an emergency action and get someone who he's having concerns about
Right.
off of the street. Okay, it's very, very. Matter of fact, I have it right here. Notwithstanding any other provisions of this section, if the appointing authority determines that there is probable cause to believe that the continued presence of the employee on the job represents a potential danger to persons or property or would severely interfere with operations, it may place such employee on involuntary leave of absence immediately, suspension without pay. So where do they get the probable cause? They keep crooked shrinks on the payroll
Right.
to sell it to them.
Right.
That's
And that they do that because they want to continue to get contracts or these contracts that they get with the departments, maybe, right? They're giving a lot of work.
Right. They're low quality, underperforming quacks.
Right.
Who aren't making it in the free market. So they live off of their bread and butter is the guaranteed revenue from steady work provided by a contract within an organization like a municipality, an insurance company, an educational institution. Right. And they play ball. They take orders or they lose their contract. And the organization moves on to doctors that will play ball. It's that simple.
Right. Right.
Okay, now look, let's get into the report.
Yeah. Really quick, and I hear about some DPW guys that a doctor that will, approve people's or write that people are in good health, so they can get the job at DPW when they're really not, right? They have a lot of these pre-existing health conditions that may prevent them from getting the job, but the doctors saying, oh, they're in good health, as long as they do favors for whoever, the right people.
Powerful. You see, the problem with this law is that when you get a report like this, it's clearly a fraud, but it's the nature of psychology or psychiatry is 100% abstract, intangible,
right?
Which makes it susceptible to this kind of manipulation. Okay?
Right.
It's 100% abstract. Yet, if a doctor hands them a report that says all this stuff, it's also 100% statutorily satisfactory. Okay.
Right.
So they're doing things that on paper it looks like they're doing things the right way they're supposed to be doing them. You can't, and this is why you can't give a guy like John Mueller all of this power. Look how broad and general that law is. I mean, that kind of power in the hands of a lunatic like this, and people are going to pay the price.
And you said they should have known about who he was based on the lawsuit that Officer Ray Montero, brought on against the Yonkers Police Department and stuff with an issue he had.
Yeah.
And it just described Mueller, as you said.
Right.
Would you call him a sadist?
A sadist. I call him Knucklehead Smith. Okay. If you haven't looked that up yet, please do so because it's hilarious. I had a cop texting me today. Bro, that's the greatest thing I ever heard in my life.
Well, let's hear this report. I'm interested in hearing what this psychiatrist, put in there.
Just a few of my favorite things that this guy wrote that make me just laugh. Starting off, right off the bat, the employee is a 37-year-old single male. He has one child. He lives in Yonkers. He is employed by the city of Yonkers as a sergeant.
Didn't even know your rank.
You know what's great? When the commissioner sends you for a psychological evaluation, the guy's supposed to be evaluating your fitness to do your job and doesn't know what your job is.
Right.
How great is that? You know what the difference between what a sergeant does and what a lieutenant does is night and day. Lieutenant, 10% of your time is signing paperwork. The other 90%, you walk around telling jokes. I mean, that's what lieutenants do. It's one of the biggest jokes in police culture. The entire rank. Yeah. But the guy thinks I'm a sergeant. Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, so there was something that I couldn't understand when I first read it. He denies any symptoms of mania, but seems to be experiencing inflated self-esteem. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. Grandiosity, pressured speech, psychomotor agitation, excessive involvement in pleasurable activities, expansive mood, flight of ideas, and racing thoughts. Now, I said, what is all this?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Right.
Some of it.
I didn't really know what to make of it until I had a conversation with someone who was knowledgeable about these issues. One of the things he diagnoses me with in the end is unspecified bipolar disorder. Unspecified bipolar and related disorder. Now, I know some people who genuinely have bipolar disorder. So
right.
this made me laugh. But I didn't make the connection between the things that I just read in that paragraph and bipolar disorder. So one day, someone who's knowledgeable about these things was telling me what bipolar disorder is really like, what the symptoms are. And he was naming these things that were clicking in my head, ringing a bell. So I said, wait a minute. I went back and I'm looking at this paragraph and reading all these things. He seems to be experiencing inflated self-esteem, grandiosity, pressured speech. And then I Googled symptoms of bipolar disorder, and it was like he read off of a list.
Right.
Right? When he was writing this stuff.
He's got to justify the the diagnosis, right? And what is pressured speech? I mean, what does that mean?
I would love to know.
I don't know. So is that like some of the worst with what they said? I mean, because what else did they say? Anything else?
I'm trying to highlight the stuff that makes it stand out as a fraud. He believes one of the major detectives is out to get him and is a made man working for the mafia. Because I use mafia analogies. so he puts in there that I think.
Well, you're not the only one.
Right.
You should have said, well, go on the website, go on the internet, and you'll see, how many times, people in the city of Yonkers are referred to as a mob or being in a mob. I mean,
by the way, whoever wrote that article on the Tribune, I beat them to it, and because I spoke about the Spano crime family a couple times in our last
yes,
yeah, that came out the next day, so I got a claim to it. I'm sorry to whoever wrote that.
Politics on Hudson, the Sopranos, he called them, the political crime family, right?
So the doctor says that I actually believe that Goomba, this idiot, is a made man in the actual mafia. So I'm delusional, in other words.
Right.
Yeah. All right. This is my absolute favorite. This is where it gets to the point of absurdity. He reports significant persecutory ideation, such as believing that others seek to harm him. He is likely to be suspicious of and alienated from others, to experience interpersonal difficulties as a result of suspiciousness and a lack of insight. Okay.
Well, I mean, if you listen to that voicemail, I mean that was a threatening voicemail, and I can see why you would feel like someone's out to get you, right?
So when you go in for one of these absolutely absurd evaluations, allegedly an evaluation, the first thing that they do is they sit you down and they give you this simple little ridiculous sort of a test. They call it the MMPI, the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory. I think I said that right. And basically what it is, it's like a series of 300 or 400 little statements, not questions, statements that you have to answer either true or false as you feel it pertains to you. Silly stuff like I get anxiety in crowds. Okay, no. Or I believe in God. Okay, yes. And you move, and they're all silly, right? And then at the end, it's a Scantron sheet. You have to put either A or B for true or false. The doctor, the quack, takes the Scantron sheet and runs it through, the machine that grades it, and it breaks down this whole typed out analysis. I have a copy
based on your answers.
So it takes all 300 or 400 of these statements and the way you answer them, it breaks them down into 9 categories, and it judges. It makes an analysis of were you on the far end of the spectrum, for that group of questions, or were you on the other end of the spectrum? So at 8 out of 9 groups, I answered everything right in the middle, totally normal responses. On the 9th group, which pertained to persecutory ideation, I gave some pretty interesting answers. And I'm going to get to some of those right now.
Well, maybe. Did you do that on purpose? Did you give these interesting answers on purpose?
Well, I'm going to tell you what they are right now. So there are some critical responses of ideas of persecution. He responded true to, I believe I'm being plotted against. Well, I know I'm being plotted against. The deputy chief of the department sat me down and told me I'm being plotted against.
Right.
Okay. He responded true to
message.
Yeah, of course. Which, by the way, the doctor refused to hear because I said, "Oh," because the first thing when you go in to talk to them after the test is they make you turn the phone off and keep it face down on the desk. Okay, I said, "Oh yeah, oh, they're plotting on me. You want to hear it? You want to hear the voicemail the guy left me? You want to see all the emails I have in my phone? Oh no, the phone has to stay turned off and face down on the desk." Oh, okay, doc, sorry.
He doesn't. He want it's a plausible deniability, right?
Right. He doesn't know if I'm recording it or anything. Like, okay. He responded true to, "I'm sure I'm being talked about." The chief told me that too. They're plotting on
Right.
you, bro. They are pissed off that you didn't answer the phone for him. He responded false to, "I have no enemies who really wish to harm me." He responded true to, "Somebody has it in for me." Now, some people have said to me, "Well, we know that that's all true, but why would you answer those questions anyway?" I said, "Because I want it on the record that this is really what's going on." And now the
Right.
obvious thing is that if I'm going to answer those questions that way, what did you think he's going to ask me? Well, what makes you say that? You got something you want to show me? But I know he's not going to do that. You see what I'm saying? So I
Right.
want him to diagnose me with paranoid personality
Right.
disorder, which is what he ultimately did.
Because and then also, if you would have
Right.
said no to all that stuff, then they could have used that against you, right? Like
Right.
he said it
Absolutely.
himself. Nobody was after him, but now he's saying we
Absolutely.
were after him, right? So yeah, it was the right thing to do. Honesty is always the best policy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm a little amped up right now because I'm drinking black coffee and I've been up since like 5 o'clock in the morning, so I'm a little
Yeah.
tired.
We got to do stuff to keep you, so you're not amped up. You don't need any little thing,
But
working
this
against
also,
you.
it's like it's so outrageous that it almost makes me happy, to like how can I say happy? But it does kind of. It makes me laugh.
Right.
It's amazing what they get away with. Like I said this to one of the city council members going back. I told him everything that was going on. And he goes, "This administration," he goes, "it is amazing what they get away with. It's out of control."
Yeah. And they don't say anything.
Nope. What else is there? Yeah, I think, as far as, oh, okay, and then the most important thing obviously is at the end where he recommends individual psychological therapy, anger management, intensive psychiatric treatment. Didn't recommend termination. So how many times do I got to say to the city, "This is what your quack says I need.
Right.
Where do I need to be? And when do I need to be there?" And you know what I get? Go to hell. Because if you don't sign what we want signed, see you later, buddy. We're going to make it difficult for you to pay attorneys. I just
And so
fired.
exactly what was it that they wanted you to sign? Like, what does it state on there? Exactly. I don't know if you have a copy of that document, you can read.
I don't have a copy of it in front of me, but I basically remember what it said. The main components of it are obviously you're not going to sue us. You're not going to grieve. No judicial. You're not going to seek any judicial review of any kind. That's the end goal for them. We'll put you back on the payroll at a certain point. You got to go through all this kinds of counseling. You have to
It's
accept.
they basically
You
want to punish you, right? That's what they wanted to do, really. They wanted to like
No,
spank you, and then because if you would have signed that, you would have got your job back, right? You would
no.
eventually, no.
That's the thing. It doesn't give you a guarantee that you're going to get your job back.
Mm.
It's you have to go through all this counseling. You have to accept the doctor's determination at the end of it. You get no appeal, and you can't sue us.
Right.
I said, why don't you guys go do something to yourself? A certain thing that I'm thinking of.
Right.
You could probably use your imagination.
How much is
Oh,
Dr. Quack
yeah.
in debt to the
I
state?
had a discussion with John about this. We should get into the doctor himself a little bit, right?
Oh, wait a
So-
minute. He knows the doctor also?
No, but I spoke to him about this, John.
Oh,
I
I
know
got
John. He goes back with my parents and stuff.
I got you.
So I
And
told
what
him
does he
about
mean
this,
by
we were
that?
laughing. Well, in preparation for the hearing that we were going to have, I hired a private investigator to look into this idiot. I hired him. I paid him his fee. I owed him some money. Guy calls me back in like 3 hours. He goes, "Bro, this guy is a mess. Bouncing around from organization to organization over the years. Can't hold down a job. Rough divorce. Like a decade and a half ago, the wife took him to the cleaners, cleaned him out. He's in debt to the state, $75,000. He has 2 open active tax warrants. There are liens against his assets and things like that. I mean, he's a disaster. He's exactly the kind of guy that a numbskull like Knucklehead Smith, John Mueller, is going to turn to serve his agenda when he's in a jam and he needs a certain diagnosis handed to him. You see what I'm saying? It's
Right.
like,
He's dead, and I've noticed that, I've spoken to some people about this, that, it's the desperate need of money why many of these people do this, right? And then they get in it, and then they start making the money, and then they start coming up, and then they start living a certain lifestyle, and now they really love it, so they don't, so they just perpetuate, this whole thing, but a lot of it is with people who are in need of money, and they will do, whatever it is, and that's why I'm like, I was talking to somebody about this. I've done with money, and really caring so much about money and all that, because I used to be that. I used to want to make money, and then just over the years, I realized that just it really truly is the root of all evil, money. It really, really is. So, but yeah, I mean, but people get desperate, and they will do crazy things for money, and even set somebody up and destroy your life, possibly. They don't know, got daughter to feed and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, what does he care about me? He needs and it's really, it's obviously it's him, but it's the clinic that he works for. And I saw some internal department documents that don't seem to add up. That sort of,
What do you mean?
Some of the documents that Internal Affairs had written up about the situation. Like I think you said to me on the last episode, puppets are not that bright, right? And the two rock skulls that they had handling this case were puppets. They were steamboats. I'm talking about the guys down at IED, down in Internal Affairs, who handled my case, if that's what you want to call it. Not the academically most gifted, dudes. And they made a lot of mistakes that I picked out in the internal. I don't want to tip off everything to them, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of inconsistencies within the internal documents themselves. So, and this is one of the things that I had gone on a rant about during the initial incident that started. So I said, this whole city, I'll stick to my own department because I know for a fact the way it works, but it applies more generally to the city too. But this whole department is, you got this guy there because he delivers the mayor's milk. You got that guy there because he plays golf with the right person. You got this guy there because he's that color. You got that woman over there because she's a woman. It's like, especially at the detective division, there are a lot of good detectives down there, but there are also a lot of people who are down there for every reason under the sun, except having shown investigatory prowess as patrolmen.
Right.
There's just too much of it. You can't, and I love a lot of the detectives down there. But it was their bosses that came after me in this matter, so I think that they're fair game for a little ridicule. Some of them, and the ones who I love down there, they know who they are. So I don't have to go.
Well, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, not many people are really coming to support you, especially those that know the truth. So, you got to do what you got to do to defend yourself. And it's kind of like with me in my situation with my business, right? And then, Freddie, why are you saying this about this person? Listen, everybody's getting it. You know what I'm saying? Because you're all part of that system. You're all making your little bit of money, right? Well, I'm going to expose y'all since you guys want to mess with me and my money and hurt my business. So everybody got to get it, because at the end of the day, when no one's gonna be there for you. No one's gonna be there for your daughter. Like, no one's gonna be there for me and my wife and my kids when we're struggling to get this thing done, right? So, hey, we got to do what we got to do.
Bro, they destroyed me, bro. They destroyed me. I was 2 years shy of the mark. They fired me. They took my they took my pension.
Wow.
They took a year of my kid's childhood from me. I'm in debt to attorneys. I got to sell my house up in Dutchess County. I'm 40 years old. What am I gonna do? Go to school and be a doctor or something? Like, you know what I mean?
You just can't restart life.
I'm becoming I'm becoming a middle-aged man now, and I'm at square one. And
and this is what I heard. The DiMaggio family has served the city of Yonkers with distinct service. Terrible what they are doing to him. Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. Like, to just that, I guess he is a sadist. So anyone that can just do that to you, just railroad you that way, and just leave you out to, to hang and dry and not care. Like you said, you lost your pension. You had to sell your home. You've been through hell and back, I'm sure. And no one's there for you. So you got to do what you got to do. But it's really, it's messed up, man. And something needs to be done about it. And this is why I've been speaking out. That's why I had you on the show. Because that's who I am. I want to fight for people who have been wronged, like I've been wronged. And I'm like, we got to do something about it. And the more of us that get together and start to speak out about it, right, that this is how things start to change, hopefully. But people have to come out and speak out and actually have to demand and be just as, aggressive, in ways as they are, because they can be very aggressive in the way that they retaliate against people, and that message was very aggressive. What they did to you, it was very aggressive, and they got you off. They took your pension, and, and that's what every cop, when when they get to retire, the last 3 years, they work they work their asses off to get that, you know, their yearly salary up so they can get a higher average, so they can retire with that. And that was all taken away from you over, you know, something stupid, really, probably.
And you know, again, listen, it all, you know, when I was working in the 4th precinct under Knucklehead Smith, he was a captain back then. He had this cute little sign hanging from his desk that said something to the effect of, when there are problems or when there's a mess or something like that, start by looking around your own desk. You know, like, in other words, the leader takes the responsibility.
Right. It's like that thing with I forgot what president that was. Might have been Roosevelt that had on his desk, "The buck stops here."
Something like that. And I'm like, this guy is such a fraud, man. Like, how could a guy like that just rise with, you know, I guess it's just got to be the union cash.
Well, I think you know, you talked about narcissism, you know, and that's a very real thing. And people throw out the word narcissism, you know, and use it very loosely when somebody might be a little full of themselves or whatever. Hey, you're narcissistic. But in all reality, you know, a true narcissist has zero empathy for other people. You know, they don't care about other people's feelings. Their only thought is themselves. How can they come up? How can they benefit and gain? They truly don't care about anyone else at all. And so, and they're going to lack that for the rest of their life. They never could change. So, I mean, you know, when you say, how can someone be that way? That's he's the one maybe with that needs to have the psychiatric evaluation, right? Maybe let's see what we come up with that. Yeah.
Forget it.
Let's see what comes up with that evaluation, right? If it's done fairly, anyway.
One thing I like to throw in there is, you know, obviously, over the last 3, including this one, the last 3 podcasts, made some pretty heavy accusations, right? We've played that voicemail a couple of times.
Sure.
I've given a good breakdown of how this scam works. I gave a pretty good breakdown of a 16-day window during which John Mueller fabricated evidence and timed, and actually tried to time the doctor's office to coincide with his reception of the fraudulent evidence that he had ordered to be fabricated. I've said time and again, I have it all on a flash drive. Let me tell you something. I haven't received a call from Leah McLaughlin. I haven't received a call from Carlos Moran at Human Resources. I haven't received a call from anybody at the mayor's office. I haven't received a call from the Yonkers Police Department's Internal Affairs Division. I haven't received a call from anybody over at the MTA who might be responsible, who might be in a position to be some sort of a watchdog on the way John Mueller behaves. I haven't received anything. Okay, it's out there now. These videos, these podcasts of mine are all over the place. All the cops in my department know about them. I know. I mean, how many views are we up to on the 2 of them combined? 1,000 got to be, right?
Yeah. At least.
Yeah. So, you know, I put the word out with a couple of NYPD cops that I know. I said, look, I don't really know any MTA guys, but they're in the crosshairs now. They're sitting ducks. They got to know about this. They got to know about this lunatic that was just put in place to lord over them. So get the word out. I told these guys, these NYPD guys, get the word out, please.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be a common thing, you know, the quality of the individuals, the background of the individuals that are put in positions here in the city of Yonkers in head positions, right? To head departments, to head agencies, to head zoning boards, for example. And the reason why I bring this up is because this past council meeting, they're considering Wilson Kimball, who is the CEO of Macy, the Municipal Housing Authority of Yonkers, as the chair. And, you know, they're going to vote for her. But she's a very scary woman, and she has a reputation. The New York State Inspector General investigated her along with her husband, James Kavanaugh, when they worked over at the Battery Park Authority in the city for misappropriating funds. They had an apartment using the taxpayer money, and they called it a love's nest in the Post, right? So they're doing all this stealing money, yet they still get put into these positions here in the city of Yonkers, and then no one asks about that, right? The council members that were there, you know, questioning her, you know, why would she be good and this and that third, none of them mentioned that. She didn't even bring up that she worked there. So they don't even care. Like, you're not going to get Liam McLaughlin to investigate. I mean, well, he did investigate Mike Cater, but that's about it. But, you know, he's not going to investigate the fact that Tasha Diaz all of a sudden changed her vote, Sandy Anabi style, right, on the housing ordinance. Nobody's investigating that, right? And nobody's investigating possible quid pro quo with a certain councilman and his business and developers, right? So it's incredible what just happens, and it's almost blatant. and yet nothing gets done about it. Right. Shanae Williams was almost scared to ask this lady if she felt that, Yonkers downtown area was being overdeveloped with luxury apartments. She was like, because the lady's scary. One of the things on the reports from the IG was that she got rid of people. She was like John Mueller. She was John Mueller and people over there at the Battery Park Authority. Right. And she did that to the two zoning board guys, a guy named Jeffrey Landsman, a guy named Vincent something. I never got his last name. And she got rid of them. Didn't even tell them. They got letters 3 months later saying they thank you for your service, but it's no longer needed.
In the termination letter that he served me, this guy had the brass to actually say that in the letter. I mean, it's probably standard language whenever they terminate someone, but at the end of the letter, it said, "Thank you for your service to the city."
Yeah.
Can you believe
Thank
that?
you for your service, but we're going to go ahead and terminate you now for unjust reasons, unjust cause. But yeah, it's incredible that, no one, is willing to, speak out about it, because for the most part, a lot of people are participating, but even those that may not, they don't speak out, or they'll just kind of remove themselves in some way. Like I think what happened with the former building commissioner, who was like, wait a minute, I don't know if I want to be a part of this. And he kind of started dragging his feet, and then they removed him. But, no one says nothing. And I watch him. I'm just like, it's incredible. I know this stuff. I have this information. It's your job to do it. And you're not doing anything. You don't even bring it up. Nothing.
Look, at the end of the day, I made a couple of comments on one of the articles on Hezzy's site. I always left my name. I never made a comment on that site until recently. I always told people if I ever do, I'll leave my name, and I did. And what I said was the buck stops with the voters.
Right.
The city council is a check on the executive branch. The legislative branch at any level of government is always a check on the executive branch. The judicial branch is also a check. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if none of those branches are doing their jobs, playing the role that they're supposed to be playing in government, then it's up to the voters to vote them out and get new people who will do it.
Right.
Unfortunately, it doesn't happen in this city. It's sad.
And that's why and we'll see what happens. I'm having faith, and we shall soon see what's going to happen. But I've been encouraging people to vote. Vote's important next year. And I think more and more people are starting to see it now, as businesses are literally being forced out. People are being, priced out. These developments are just taking over. And people are like, wait a minute, what the hell is going on here? Well, you got to see who's in office, and it's time to come out and vote before it's too late. And like I said, Tasha Diaz, basically on her killing that housing ordinance, she gave the developers the green light to do massive developments, letting her constituents down and the average person here in the city of Yonkers, because she's getting paid and she gets the majority leader title, right? And nobody looks into that. Straight up Sandy Anabi, right? And so what's going on? Who do you then go to? I mean, where do you find,
I met her the other day. She's
some justice.
Woman, actually.
Who's that?
Sandy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I met her. I don't know much about her, but she was very polite.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think she got caught up in something. She may not have known what was really going down, and just kind of, maybe being a little naive. I don't know, but but definitely the people that were behind her, they were really the masterminds, and they messed her up and got her career messed up. Kind of like what happened to you. But who do you go to? I mean, how do you find your justice, right? How do you, get things like this investigated or looked into? I mean,
by the way, the Spano administration investigating Mike Hader for pay to play is like the pot investigating the kettle for being black. I mean, that's outrageous.
Yeah.
How do you think Knucklehead Smith got to be the police commissioner in Yonkers?
Right.
Why,
and
he was the best choice.
You mentioned something like that. I mean, that was
Go ahead.
You said, no, you're saying that. I was going to say, you mentioned that was kind of a deal that was made, with the PBA president, to get him in. And however, it didn't happen right away. Chucky Gardner was named commissioner. Then they put John Mueller in there, right? What was that deal? Just maybe recap for the people who didn't know or maybe missed that.
Well, as far as I can't provide any proof of what the rumors are, but like I said, I think on the first podcast, I came to believe a lot of the rumors when John Mueller was appointed, because when the choice is between Tim Hodges and John Mueller, I mean, that's the easiest decision the executive of a city like the mayor is ever going to have to make. It's supposed to be, but he made
that was crazy,
right? So the rumor is that Keith Olson, PBA president, and by the way, the CLSA too, all of the the CLSA, I think we went over the last episode. It's been a revolving door of Spano puppets serving as the president. If people want to know a little bit more about that, they should go back and watch the second episode. But the CLSA as well has been, paying money to Empire Strategic, Nick's lobbying firm. And what lobbying has he really done? From what I hear, not much, maybe none, zero.
Right.
And in the meantime, the two union presidents are getting everything that they want. Each of the last 4 or 5 CLSA presidents have all been absolute empty suits as presidents and then gone to a fantastic spot within the department upon vacating the presidency. Okay? Mike Hanley will be next. He's the current CLSA president. He's a captain. When he leaves, he's a detective captain because, like I said, they give you a detective stipend, a gold shield, when you become the president. When he leaves, he's going to stay detective captain. He's going to go to a nice spot within the department, make a lot of money, overtime built into the gig, or he's going to be the next chief, or he's going to retire and go get a gig somewhere else that Spano's going to hook him up with. That's the reward. Okay. Keith is sort of the perennial PBA president because the administration threatens anybody within the PBA who even talks about wanting to run against them.
Yeah.
And then he's funneling the union dues up to Nick. This is the rumor, funneling the union dues up to Nick, and he's getting a hell of a lot in return for himself. I kind of want to stay away from families when I do these podcasts because I got no beef with them. But obviously people close to him are benefiting, and good for them. But the grand prize was putting this screwball in as the police commissioner. Okay, and a lot of good people had to pay the price for that. I paid the ultimate price. I lost my job.
Wow. And so, I mean, hearing that as a police officer who's paying dues, and I don't know how much you guys pay for those dues, or how much you were paying, but that would be disappointing. I'd be like, all right, well, okay, well, why am I paying my dues then? I might as well keep that money in my pocket. Okay, that's what you guys want to do, but I want to keep my dues. You know what I mean? What's the point?
Right.
You see what happened to you, and that's scary also because you could be paying your dues, but if you get into an argument with the wrong, officer or individual in the department, then they can do what happened to you.
I
Right?
want
It doesn't matter.
to put a request in to all the CLSA members out there who might be watching this. Mike Hanley was our president. He is obligated to file some sort of a complaint or grievance in the courtroom on my behalf, saying the city wants him to go for counseling. The city's doctor wants him to go for counseling. Let the counseling begin. There is no reason that he should be losing his job.
Right.
That's basic. Mike Hanley tells me, well, that's not what the union does. No, you idiot. That's exactly what the union does. That's why unions exist. Okay?
Wow.
I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Question, how do you find integrity?
Doing the right thing when you think you probably won't even pay a price for doing the wrong thing. You know what I mean? Like when you know you can get away with doing the wrong thing, but you do the right thing anyway because it's the right thing to do.
Right. Doing the right thing when you think no one is looking, right? It's
Right.
kind of like that. You
Right.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we said a lot. I mean, we're at an hour here, so let's wrap it up. A lot was said. Let's pick back up on the next podcast. We'll do another interview of part 4. So before we let you go, before I let you go, I should say, is there anything else you want to say in this podcast before we wrap it up?
Actually, yes. I'm glad I remembered. I almost forgot. I come across a little gem in the last couple of days. Somebody, a friend of mine who obviously is no fan of John Muller's, and there are many of those people out there, presented me with a little gift. I've yet to read it, but I have here in front of me 40 or 40-something pages of John Muller's deposition taken by Michael Sussman in his lawsuit against Hezzy. I've heard it's off the chain. I haven't read it yet, but I heard, the person who gave it to me told me that, if this doesn't embarrass this guy, and I'm not out to embarrass him, I'm out to protect other cops from him.
Right. I mean, is there anything there that you could read?
It's, I haven't gone through it yet, so I wouldn't even know where to skip to. But
right.
what I did do before we came on the air before was I kind of just flipped through it and read like a couple of random things here and there. And I have a feeling that I'm going to have some firsthand knowledge of a lot of the things that are being discussed in this case. So this is really a gift. This is a treasure from the guy.
So I tell you what, hold that thought.
Yeah.
What we'll do is, you heard what he said there. Anthony has a copy of the deposition in the lawsuit against Hezi Aris, the guy who editor and founder of Yonkers Tribune. And this is Keith Olson. You said Keith's
no,
deposition?
This is John Mueller. This is
John Mueller's
Michael
deposition.
Sussman deposing John Mueller in that case, which I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure if it's still ongoing. I think it might be.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's going to be very interesting.
Public information. I just didn't know where to. I didn't even know that it was out there, and someone said, "Hey, that's out there. I'll give you a copy."
Well, there you go. There you have it, folks. We'll announce when. I'll announce when Anthony DiMaggio is going to be back on, but that's what we're going to be talking about, that deposition, because I'm very curious to know what's in that in those documents there.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, any questions before I go? I'm sorry, before we let Anthony go, any questions, anyone? I know there were is there a way to restructure or implement ways that will make things better in the system to prevent what they are doing to you?
Yeah, I think that the legislators have to lay out a little more guidelines as to Article 72. But I mean, that's some heavy lifting, to get all the way up to Albany, to get somebody in Albany's ear. I mean, that's a tough task.
That's going to require people like Senator Shelley Mayer, Andrew Stewart Cousins, Assemblyman Nader Sayegh, and maybe Mike Breen if he wins, if he's listening. Maybe that's something he can work on.
Yeah.
So he won't be a do-nothing councilman like they call them.
Maybe a project for the second half of my life here.
Yeah, maybe once, this could be turned into something where you really, become an advocate, for change, because I'm sure you're not the only officer that's been through this. And it's unfortunate that it happens, but, I'm happy that you're speaking out. A lot of people are actually happy you're speaking out. They've come to you and told you that. They've told me that. People are looking forward to you coming on. So, people want to hear this stuff. They really want to know about it. And, for the most part, I think, humans, are good people, right? Humans are kind. Most people are good people, right? For the most part, you just do have this small group. So they want to hear this stuff and they want this stuff to change. So I'm glad that we're able to talk about it, Anthony. So again, if any questions, any other questions? I don't know if there were any questions. I'm looking through them. No, I asked you that one.
I'd like to thank the audience for bearing with me tonight. I mean, like I said, I really have been up since 5 o'clock and I've been drinking black coffee for 3 hours trying to stay awake because I'm really tired. But
no worries, man.
For the next podcast.
No worries. I appreciate you coming on the show again, Anthony DiMaggio. I look forward to speaking with you again. We'll work that out, offline. And then once we set that day and time up, which will probably be another Friday, right? We'll just keep it on Fridays. We'll let you know, or maybe next Friday, but we'll let you know for sure once we confirm it. And I'll definitely be putting it out there in advertising. You can go ahead and share it as well once it's out there. So anyway, folks, again, give Anthony a round of applause for coming out and being brave. I mean, it is something to be to say that you're being brave for doing it, because so many people, don't want to speak out. And, from what I was told in the very beginning, be careful, watch your back, this, that, and the third. I'm almost, one of my questions were when people were telling me this, I'm like, should I fear for my life? I mean, the way they made it sound, it was like, is my life in danger here?
I've been told that,
so
flat out.
I mean, the way they make it seem like I'm like, is it physically? Am I going to be hurt or something? Should I? I mean, listen, I'm ready for all that. So whatever. I just want to know what to expect if you know. So it's crazy though. It's unbelievable. But anyway, folks, Anthony DiMaggio, former Yonkers police lieutenant, 15-year veteran, who was railroaded by the department over a minor dispute. They retaliated, terminated him, took his pension, and caused a lot of trauma and problems, So thank you, Anthony. He'll be joining me back on for part 4. You don't want to miss that, where we'll talk about the deposition John Mueller gave in the Hezi Aris Keith Olson lawsuit, right? That's going to be very interesting. So anyway, folks, join us for that one. Thank you, Anthony.
Thanks,
Have
Fred.
a great night. Take care.
Well, folks, that was Anthony DiMaggio, former Yonkers police lieutenant. Joining me on the show. A lot of people wanted to see him come on. They were like, Freddie, when is he going to be back on? What time he's going to be back on? A lot of people have said good things about him. A lot of people have said good things about him. I did hear some other things that, you know, that were in contradiction to what most other people said. So I have to ask him about it. I like to be fair. I got to bring it up, right? I never want to just, you know, be one-sided with everything, with anything, I should say. So that's why I asked him. I give him the opportunity to speak on it, and he spoke on it. However, you know, I'm inclined to believe, you know, Anthony and what happened to him. I mean, his story is not unusual, actually, and it's not unique, unfortunately. He may be the first police officer that's coming out and speaking about it, about what's happened, you know, while being employed or you know, working for some form of fashion for the city of Yonkers, or just living in the city of Yonkers, right, or being a business owner. He's probably the first police officer, but a lot of people have these experiences, and a lot of people are scared to speak about it because of retaliation. Hell, some people are even scared to run for office because of retaliation. And I had someone tell me that they didn't run because they did not want their significant other having problems at their employment. They work for a big company. And so the reach is that long, I guess, you know, at some big private company, that it can still face retaliation if that person ran for office. And then have been other individuals who wanted to run for office and experience retaliation. And I spoke about it on my podcast, I believe it was sometime last year, in regards to the, actually, I think it might have been early in the year, in regards to the Ada Medina race for city court judge there that's happening. Is it this year or next year? I don't know. Folks, really quick, I just want to play this. This I have to play. I can't even wait. I'm like, you know, this is unbelievable.
The Yonkers City Council Rules Committee.
Can you please just bear with me a few minutes? I want you to see Shanae Williams and how she was like scared of this woman. She did not want to ask this woman, Wilson Kimball, that you see there. Wilson Kimball is the head of housing, Macy, Municipal Housing Authority. She's the CEO. She also was the head of the downtown development or whatever bid. She has a husband who also works for the city of Yonkers, or not for the city, but he is the head of the Yonkers Industrial Development Agency. That's the agency that is tasked with giving developers the huge tax breaks that they get. Those pilots that I mentioned, the payment in lieu of taxes. Well, her husband and that agency are the ones that give them the tax breaks. They're also the ones that, they finagle the sale of municipal property and get it into the hands of these developers. That's what her husband does. Now, Wilson Kimball and her husband are not, the most, have the cleanest, history or background or reputation, whatever you want to say. They were actually investigated by the New York State Inspector General. That's right. When Wilson Kimball and her now husband, because they weren't married back then, in fact, they were having an affair, now husband James Kavanaugh, were both over at the Battery Park Authority. They were misappropriating funds, aka stealing, robbing funds. Money was missing. They also had an apartment down in Manhattan where they would rendezvous and have their affair that they were paying with the taxpayer money. And because of that, they both had to leave and resign from the Battery Park Authority and ended up somehow here in the city of Yonkers. And now look what's happening in the downtown area. So this woman is now possibly going to become the chair of the zoning board. And I mentioned this when they had the retirement ceremony for the former commissioner. I said Wilson Kimball is going to be the next chair. She is going to run that, and she is going to create a new Yonkers. She's going to change zoning laws like nobody's business. And that's exactly what she's already been doing. Wilson Kimball removed, from what I hear from my sources, she had 2 members of the zoning board removed, 2 senior members of the zoning board who were on their way before her, 30 years. She's only been on there 2. She had them removed because they would not approve the big 25-story development that's going up on Hudson Street, the 44 Hudson Terrace development, that project. They would not approve it because they felt it was not good for the area and the residents of that area. Well, that pissed off this woman, Wilson Kimball. And so she then had them removed. They didn't even tell them. They simply just went and appointed two new people. And the city council just went along with it. They didn't even ask, why were we appointing two new people? What happened to the two senior most members, the most knowledgeable members? No questions. They just appointed two new people, two of them who are related to developers and investors, one of them who was a 21-year-old kid who knew nothing about zoning, but is going to make a huge impact here in the city of Yonkers. And now she's going to be the chair. What do you think she's going to do? She's going to get projects approved that shouldn't be approved. Once those two guys were removed, guess what happened? They approved that project on Hudson Street. There were never supposed to be that tall buildings, but they changed the ordinance. They're going to continue to change zoning laws in order to get these huge developments approved for these rich, wealthy developers who are only bringing in luxury developments. And so now Shanae Williams, the councilwoman for District 1, the area where you see all the developments happen in the downtown area, right, wanted to ask her if her opinion on whether or not there was too many luxury apartments being built. Remember, folks, this is a city where the average person makes $35,000 a year. Well, the average luxury one-bedroom apartment is $36,000 for the year in rent. That's $1,000 more than the average person makes. So this is not for the average person in the city of Yonkers. They need more affordable housing, something that they have not really done. They sold all the land to build luxury. So Shanae Williams is supposed to say, hey, woman, what do you think about these developments? Because they're pushing people out. Business owners are being forced to close their businesses. And I'm a Black woman, and I don't like the fact that many Blacks are being impacted. Latinos being impacted, but everyone's going to be impacted. So Shanae, I don't know if she tried to ask a question, but she was stuttering, scared to ask this woman, because I hear this woman is very mean. That's what people say. Some people have called her evil. Not my words, the words of other people. So listen to Shanae try and ask the question if Yonkers is being overdeveloped with luxury apartments.
I don't have many questions. We know Wilson. We've seen her here many a times. We know that she's more than qualified to take on this position. And like she just shared, she's worked with the previous chairperson and learned a lot from him, which I think is great. I just want to know what your thoughts are about the current zones for downtown Yonkers and Yonkers overall, mostly the downtown area that I serve and represent. What are your thoughts about it? And do you feel that, can you share if whether or not where we might be focusing too much on
luxury developments? Say it. Luxury rentals. Say it.
How do I want to say this
luxury
delicately,
rentals.
but I'm trying to figure out how to say that without sounding crazy. The downtown zoning, we've been seeing a lot of growth and development, a lot of real estate, specifically a lot of luxury or expensive apartment, not necessarily all luxury, but expensive apartments in the downtown. But now there's also a lot of need for more affordable housing. And I want to know if your thoughts specifically around zoning when it comes to that area. Do you feel that we need to revisit the current zoning for the downtown and keep in mind that we don't want to kind of separate the city in such a way where we have a specific group of people living in this zone where everybody's making a certain income and the opposite is over here right in the outskirts of it. You know what I'm saying, Wilson? Can you share what your thoughts are about that? If there's any way that we can address that to make sure that we're not dividing people in drastic ways, where we have the rich or the more affluent people in one area in the downtown and everyone else on the outskirts?
Sure. I think that's
Wow. Now, this woman was voted to fight for the people. Shanae, you look scared. This woman is doing exactly what you're concerned about. She is causing the place to be overdeveloped with luxury rentals, pushing people out, and she's doing it by changing zoning laws. What I find interesting is that she is the head of Municipal Housing Authority of Yonkers, yet Wilson Kimball, the lady I just showed there, is more concerned with luxury developments. She recently had a lottery for people who were in need of vouchers and affordable housing. But the lottery wasn't for a voucher. The lottery was for a spot in the waiting list, a spot on the waiting line. That's it. And I hear that it's going to take up to 5 years for some people, or a lot of the people, to get vouchers. They don't have enough apartments, and they're not building many affordable housing. What they're doing is they're renovating the ones that they already have. And why do you think that is? Because they're going to be for the people that can't pay, to live right on the waterfront, but they still could afford to live, in those apartments that are a little bit away. But it's not going to be the people that are in there now. And that's why they're including some of those amenities that you see on the waterfront. It's a trick. It's a trick, and it's going to happen over time. And Shanae Williams was voted in to make sure that businesses like Yummy Yummy, Denim Legacy, and Pablo's Bodega over there on Warburton that's been there for 30 years would not be forced out, but would only close down when they were ready to retire. That area is going to change because they are nothing but studios that are going to be going up on Warburton and Woolworth. The mayor said another 20 to 22 studios. 2 of them are going to be the largest on the eastern seaboard. Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? And these developers are not adhering to the requirement of 10% affordable housing. Instead, they're saying, I'm going to do 5%, and I'll put the other 5% into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I'll put a certain amount of money so you could build affordable housing somewhere else. Because they're basically saying, we'd rather give you the money to build affordable housing somewhere else, away from the luxury rentals in the waterfront, than have them in our developments. And that's okay with the city council, because Tasha Diaz, a Black woman, majority leader of District 3, killed the housing ordinance. She voted no to increase the affordable housing requirement that these developers would have had to follow. That would have gave more opportunities for more people to have affordable housing in a decent neighborhood that wasn't run down, where you didn't have big rats and roaches and all that. Right? But no, she lives in affordable housing herself. And I hear that her rent is no more than $1,000. And she doesn't even pay Con Ed, no utilities, free parking, Tasha Diaz. Yet you don't allow others to benefit the way you do. Why? Because the developers have her in their pocket. So it's time to vote these people out, because they may look like you, but they ain't for you. And that's a fact, because everything that they've done has been for the developers, and they have been pushing people out. And it's time for you to come out and vote. And it's time for you to let it be known that we're not going to take this anymore. Because if you don't vote, guess what? You're not going to be here much longer, many of you. You're going to have to leave Yonkers altogether, because there isn't no apartments anywhere that are affordable. It's just not enough, and they're not building any. And they've been focusing mostly on these developments, not our schools. Transportation for students suck. They left a little girl, a UPK student, yesterday, got dropped off at the top of Prescott over there in Nodine Hill. It wasn't her stop, and the bus left her there. Then the girl starts screaming and crying, and people are looking at her confused at first, but then eventually they went up to her and realized that she got left at a wrong bus stop. So imagine you waiting for your child at your bus stop, and your child never shows up when the bus comes, because your child was left somewhere else. God knows where. And it wasn't until an hour later that she was reunited with her parents. Another student taken to the wrong school. My son got off the bus today, which I had to have him ride today because I couldn't, I had no choice, sweating his ass off, saying, Dad, I'm so hot, I'm sweating, take my shirt off. No AC, no monitors on these buses. Yet Tasha Diaz, the chair of the education committee here in the city of Yonkers, the one that killed the housing ordinance after she lied to the people for months, saying that she was in support of it, right, is doing nothing about it, because her concern are the developers. You can see her at the groundbreakings next to the rich developers with her shovel, her hard hat, and her chancletas, her flip-flops, because she's a flip-flopper. And it's time to vote these people out. It's time. It's necessary because they haven't done anything for the people. They've left us out to hang and dry and waited till the developers came in to buy everything up and push us all out. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. Join me on Sunday afternoon for John Cater. He will be joining me. That's a fact. It's guaranteed. We locked it in. That will be broadcast simultaneously on Basement Politics and Inside Yonkers. And then join me on Sunday night as I talk more about this. I explain to you exactly what's going to be happening here in the city of Yonkers, the master plans by AMS, the huge developments that they're going to be putting up on Chicken Island, a bunch of luxury, high-end, ritzy apartments that most people cannot afford. $3,000, $4,000, and even $5,000 apartments. The writing's on the wall. They don't want you here anymore. Lionsgate's coming in. Syracuse University's coming in. The developers are already here building their housing. It's only a matter of time unless you come out and vote next year. Next year, District 1, District 3, District 5, and the mayor is up for election. We must elect new individuals that are truly passionate about this city and the people that are here now and helping those that are here now. Because they could have done a revitalization with the people here. It starts with the schools. That's how you develop the economy. I'm Freddie Vasquez. Have a beautiful and blessed night. Enjoy your weekend, folks. I'll see you later. I am Freddie Vasquez. That was your Basement Politics episode for Friday night, September 9, 2022. Interview with Anthony DiMaggio, part 3. He is the Yonkers police lieutenant who was terminated. 15-year veteran police lieutenant. And now he's speaking about his story and what actually goes on in the police department or what was going on at the time while he was a police officer. Also, Shanae Williams, councilwoman for District 1, scared to press Wilson Kimball. I wish I had watched that live. I wish I was there. I wish I was the council person for District 1. I would have gave it to Wilson Kimball. I would have reminded her about her time at the Battery Park and why she should not be anywhere near the city of Yonkers. I'm Freddie Vasquez. I'm relentless. Try me.
Freddie wins.
Let's do it, baby. I'm ready.
Freddie wins.
It's better to be nice. It's better to be nice.
Freddie
Unless you're ready to
wins.
go all out. All out.
Fatality.
You don't want that anymore. You don't want that problem. Promise.
Are we?
Ask this guy right
Make
here.
it happen, guys. Make me happy today.
I proved that he was a pedophile.
That's a lot of stars.
Wow.
Are we gonna leave it where it is? Let's vote on this. Are we gonna leave it where it is? Let's vote on this. Let's get. Are we gonna leave it where it is? Let's vote on this. Let's get it. Are we gonna leave it where it is? Let's vote on this. Let's get it popping. Let's get it. Are we gonna leave it where it is? Let's vote on this. Let's get it popping.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
I was raised in housing. I don't think you were. I went to Yonkers public schools. I don't think you did. We can go on all night with this, honey.
Letting Helen off easy.
Are we doing interviews right now?
Yes, I sent that text message yesterday if you had any questions for the candidates.
Yes, but I thought it was going to be like after we went through the agenda, we would then do interviews. But I'm okay. I don't have any questions.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
The hopes that the people will follow them, it's not working. Benefit you. Because it doesn't cover. He only talks trash. We are the real McCoy. Benefit you. Because it doesn't cover. he only talks trash. Show that my competition, the guy who always talks about me because que habla en español. Show that my competition, the guy who always talks about me because que habla en español. Are we? Let's make it happen, guys. Make me happy today.
Thank you for watching Basement Politics with my husband, Freddie Vasquez.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
No!